Hi, guys. I suppose you thought you were done with me, but no, there's just a little bit more, a little coda, a little finish to what we've done this term. And I put this together to be helpful to you, and I hope you will take a look at it. First, I'm going to cover in the broadest brush possible what we have done this term, and we've covered a lot of content, and you guys have worked hard, and you've been a great class. But let's just do that so it's set in everyone's mind as we go away. Remember what we said about tell them? Okay, well, I've got to tell them what I told them. And then I've got a few thoughts, a little bit of career advice for you guys, a few thoughts for the road. So 2 things to cover. First, you remember at the beginning of the term, or a little before the beginning of the term, I sent you a note about starting class again. And summer flashed by, and then class started. And we looked at a couple of issues. We had really good class discussions about Bluetooth tracking at retail. Remember that one? That if you had your phone in your pocket and you were wandering around in a store, pausing here and there and buying things here and there, that could be tracked, and that was done without permission. And you guys had some very good ideas for making people aware that this was happening, giving them an option to opt out, maybe giving them some deals if they decided to share their data. It's very good thinking. And we also had some information about children being tracked on YouTube and other things. We talked about that. So we started right away with some issues in direct mail focusing on privacy and data collection, which really is the paramount #1 issue with this topic, direct marketing. Privacy. We didn't really talk too much about, we did talk about content, of course, and false content being put out there, and that problem, particularly with the social media sites. We did not talk too much about e-commerce and automation, but we did talk about Amazon to some degree, which is kind of the, it's the prime mover by far in retail, and they don't necessarily treat their folks so great. These are a couple of New York Times articles. You guys know I love the New York Times. Read it every morning. Recommend that you do too. Get your free issue on the campus at FIT, or you can, through the library, I believe you get free access to the digital New York Times. And these are a couple of recent articles having to do with these issues. The first one is about the fact that we all get these consumer scores given to us that are more than credit ratings. These are things that are gathered among websites, not just by one website like Facebook or Google, but this is shared information having to do with transactions we do with hotels and other things, reservation canceling, etc. And then there's another article about Google making a partnership with Ascension, which is a big healthcare provider, owns hospitals and other things, and that data is being shared now between those 2 companies. And what does that mean in terms of privacy? So you know what? Direct and interactive marketing is the hottest area in marketing, and new things popping up every day that are issues and things to think about. In terms of some of the key principles we talked about, in addition to issues, we talked about the purchase funnel, and I want you to please remember this, but there's a new purchase funnel. This one, I don't know who drew this, but I think the person has some real draftsmanship talents. Also good color sense. Purple and yellow is very appealing, I think most of us think. You remember that for the purchase funnel, with all marketing, everything you do in marketing relates to this. We added another step so that there are now 7 steps Did I count that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes. We added experience. So once you bought the product, you actually get it. And if you think about getting your first iPhone, what's it like to open the package and take out the phone and set it up and try it? That is definitely part of the, and does it work or not, once you've done that. So there's a whole bunch of kind of mini steps in the idea of experiencing the product or the service that you purchased. And I added this because after attending a presentation Amazon gave a few weeks ago, which is really, really interesting, they had it in their purchase funnel, and they take the purchase funnel very seriously, so I added it. So, and Acapella still works because the E now has a thing called experience. You remember our Tabasco for copy strategy. I would encourage you to apply this template to any ad you're ever asked to evaluate. You first need to understand what the ad's trying to do before you can judge whether it's successful or not. And this is the way to evaluate what the ad is trying to do, Tabasco. We talked about the key principles of direct marketing. Oops. And if I were to ask you the 3 principles, I know I would hear a resounding offer, database, measurability, wouldn't I? And if I asked you also, because the first part of our class was about those 3 things, offers, databases, and measurability, we then talked about media types. And if I were to ask you what is a medium, I know you would all say it's something that's between 2 other things. And I also know if I asked you guys, we were here in a live class, how do we differentiate among media types, I would hear CPM, cost per thousand, and I would hear quality of impression, wouldn't I? Motion, sound, visual, I would hear length of exposure, I would hear that different media types have different qualities of impression that they deliver. I would hear that. I know I would. Now, these are based on the syllabus we started with. This is what was you guys were supposed to have learned by the end of the class. And so ask yourselves, and I hope we've done this, do you know how to develop offers that will move customers through the purchase funnel, whether they're trial offers or loyalty offers? Do you know how to create objective strategies and plans involving databases, offers, and measurability? It's one of the reasons I asked you guys to go back for Victoria's Secret and think through your direct marketing plans. And I think I've heard from all but one team on that. Thank you. Do you understand the difference between branding and direct marketing? I know you do that. Do you understand concepts such as lifetime value, customer relationship management, most valuable customer? And I know you do that too. So you ask yourselves this, and I hope we've checked the boxes here. Here are my parting thoughts. Everything you do at a job, you should have an objective for it. And smart companies will sit down with a new employee. The boss of that employee will sit down and say, here are your goals for your position. This is what I want to see you accomplish. And we'll also not just dictate it from top down, but also listen back from the employee. And new employees aren't always in a position to know what's accomplishable and what isn't, but it should be a dialogue between the boss and the employee about what can be accomplished. And yes, the employee should be stretched. That's fine, but it should not be unrealistic, a la Wells Fargo, with ridiculous goals that ended up losing the company billions of dollars of stock valuation and a lot of other, and ruining the trust between customer and company. So you want achievable objectives. Smart bosses will sit down, and also measurable objectives, so that when you're told you've got to accomplish this, you need a date. When should it be done by? When you're told you should handle customer complaint calls. Well, how many complaint calls per day, and how many should be resolved, and how many should not be resolved? I mean, everything needs to be measured. You can't be given a goal unless it can be measured. Smart companies sit down, and this is management by objectives. By the way, if you're a boss, your job is to help your team accomplish their goals. You're the coach. You've got to sit down and go over the goals and talk to the employee about what they're doing and give them guidance about how to improve or change the goal. But the job of a boss is to help his or her team accomplish their goals. And that all, when you put it all together through the whole company, I mean, as Bob Dylan says, everybody's got to serve somebody. Every single person has a boss. Even the person who runs the company, the CEO, has a board of directors. And so from the tippity top of the company in terms of the management structure right down to the most important people, the ones who handle customers, there need to be quantifiable, realistic goals that are based on a dialogue between the employee and the boss. Measurable goals, and they need to be reviewed and worked on. By the way, it's not a bad idea to have goals for other things in your life other than your job. Quantifiable goals that you think through and you have different steps for. Smart people, successful people have these goals, and those who have these goals are 42% more likely to accomplish them. Here are a few more tips. So that's what we just talked about, right, folks? And we talked about that. Now here's the part of, for your family relationships, why not have some goals? Why not call your parents every week instead of them calling you? Why not spend a half an hour on the phone with your parents every week, or your friends? How many friends, real friends, do you have? What have you done for your friends? How do you make more friends? Are there causes, good causes that you're involved in your life? Are you just a student and somebody who eats lunch, dinner, and breakfast and studies and maybe has a job and an internship? And yes, I know you're incredibly busy at FIT. I know that. I've been here for a while. But are you ever going to spend part of your time supporting some kind of charity for the environment, for pets, for children, whatever it may be that's important to you? What is your plan to get involved with that and make that a part of your life? So that you're not just a working and eating machine, but you're someone who also contributes to the world. When you write those goals down, things you want to accomplish, and you quantify and you give yourself dates, and you pull them out and look at them regularly, you're 40% more likely to accomplish them. Kiss up, kiss down. This means you need to make your boss look good. Your job and your first job is don't contradict your boss in public. I had a very smart boss tell me that early on. If you have a disagreement, do it off-site. Do it between the two of you. Don't do it in public in a meeting. That's ridiculous and stupid. When management asks how you're doing, they're going to ask your boss. Your boss is in charge of your promotion and how you're doing, whether you like him or her or not. That's a fact. And in terms of you dealing with other people in the company, if you ask somebody for help and they help you, make them look good. Copy their boss on your thanks memo, and maybe they'll want to help you again. When you're in a new role, you've been promoted, or you're starting in a new job, when there are team meetings, don't open your big mouth and talk all the time. Because you just started. You don't know you know what. Listen and take it all in. Don't be a know-it-all. Do that in your first couple of meetings. Whether you know it all or not, maybe you're right about everything. But it's better to be liked than to be right. Don't forget that. Knowledge is power. Really understand the business you're working on. If you're selling a widget, you better know how to fix the widget. I always cite the example of Will Smith in The Pursuit of Happiness selling those strange medical devices. He lugs around everywhere. It's a wonderful movie. It makes me feel good every time I watch it because nothing stops this guy. He's a good guy through it all, and he keeps his head and he keeps his cool. But when he has to sell one of those widgets and it doesn't work in the doctor's office, guess what? He takes a screwdriver and he fixes it and he sells the damn thing. You better know how to do that too for whatever you're selling. Good sense of humor goes a long way. That may be the most important thing I'm telling you. Don't job hop. Stay in anything at least a year. It won't count. Don't hop around every 6 months. If something needs to get done, make sure everybody responsible for it communicates about their part in getting it done. Get them all on the phone together and go over all the details, all the things that might happen, and have backup plans, have everybody's contact information, and run it until it gets done. Come to your boss with solutions, not problems. This is about to stop, and I wish I'd finished it all in one 15-minute take, but it isn't. I'm going to have to do a little bit more.